right, getting right to it. We have Marshall Thompson, the co-founder and CEO of Braven Brewing Company, coming up next.
All right, thank you, Chris. Welcome to Brooklyn, everybody, our home borough. My name is Eric Feldman, not mentioned before, co-founder of Braven Brewing Company here in Bushwick of Brooklyn. This is my Braven co-founder, Marshall Thompson. You did hear his name before. Marshall and I began as home brewers with day jobs, but founded Braven because we saw an opportunity to start a brewery that connected with the people that we really love being affiliated with, and that's the creative community in New York City. I'll dive right into our current lineup of beers to get us started. First, our White IPA, a delicious blend of two distinct styles that marries the hoppy bite of an American IPA to the soft wheat character and hints of spice of a Belgian white. The Black Pale Ale we like to call a drinkable contradiction, light-bodied and hoppy like a pale ale, but jet black with notes of chocolate and espresso. It's great to see people who just read pale ale, then it pours out completely black. They should have read the label. And Bushwick Pilsner, our flagship style and bestseller, and what the judges are drinking right now, is a classic American Pilsner, designed and brewed as an homage to the 19th century breweries that once called Bushwick home. I like to say it's as close to drinking a beer straight out of 1880 as you can get. In fact, during the 1800s, the late 1800s, Bushwick was home to over 24 breweries, back when Brooklyn accounted for over 10% of America's beer production. Now, famous breweries included Rheingold, Schaefer, Peels, and Tromer's, names that disappeared because all these breweries had to close during Prohibition and never really recovered. The neighborhood never really recovered either. Until now. Today, Bushwick is home to a true cultural renaissance. There are scores of galleries, music studios, Michelin-recommended restaurants, thrilling art spaces where silk rope dancers descend from the ceiling. Bushwick is Brooklyn's center of vibrant, almost explosive creative energy. And you can see our mission statement: to brew remarkable beer for remarkable individuals, along with our branding, our events, and our partnerships, all reflect our commitment to supporting and celebrating this creative community.
So we started selling in January 2015. Over the last 17 months, we've brewed almost 3,700 barrels of beer. We've racked up $710,000 in sales, and we've sold our beer at over 1,600 accounts throughout New York City, Long Island, and Westchester. Eric and I create all of our recipes, and we brew them upstate in Saratoga Springs, New York, at Old Saratoga Brewing Company. Our goal has always been to open our own brewery in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and we're actively speaking with investors to make that happen. Our 15-barrel brewery would help us to sell our pints on site, distribute a little bit throughout New York City, and then as we're building out our brewery, then we'd be able to keep brewing upstate in Saratoga Springs for the bulk of distribution and have our pints for sale on site. That's our time.
That's all. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Round of applause for these guys. Here you go. In San Diego, we actually have a gong, and it just it startles people up here when they go over time. We didn't get that feature with these accommodations. So Braven Brewing, very, very clean design to the look. I don't know how the beer tastes. Is the beer as clean as it looks here? Corey, I'll pitch that to you.
It's definitely clean. I'm curious as the sour note, as to me, it's a bit off-putting. I don't know if you're trying to intentionally make it that sour, but I've got a sourness in it that's a little not what I was expecting.
No, there's a little bite. We use corn. It's traditional in the classic American style. Sometimes it can give it a little bit of extra bite to it. I think that it blends pretty well with the hops and our tastes. It might not jive with you, but I think it's done very well here so far.
We saw how much penetration they've got from a pretty early stage. $700,000 worth in sales, 1,600 accounts. Carmen, I mean, what do you think about their ability to actually go out there and execute on a brand like this at such a young age?
I think that you have a good chance of doing that, and I'm curious a little bit about, I talked before about how it's really important to have people behind the brand, and I think that's really important for you guys specifically because the name of your brewery is Bushwick, but in fact you're contract brewing somewhere else. Braven, and you talk a lot about Bushwick. So I think that speaking to speaking to your heritage and like you being part of this place will really help develop that story as you go forward.
And Michael, what did you think about the story in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's knowing how Brooklyn got started. It feels almost like an homage to their model, which is kind of interesting. I mean, from a branding and communications perspective, I think it holds pretty well. I mean, I think if you describe yourselves as who you are is to connect with this creative audience in Brooklyn, I think there's a lot of people that would say the same thing maybe. And so I don't know if that's really going to differentiate you in the end. I think it has to be something about Braven in particular that is unique rather than who you want to sell to. Because you're not going to get to own that audience. Everybody wants to sell beer to that audience. And they're going to do, if your events and the way you behave out in the world reflects that, then everybody else is going to be doing similar things. And so I think it really has to come through in the beer and the brand yourselves more than anything.
Right. Luis, you've been able to do that a bit with Wynwood. Obviously, you have the advantage, I suppose, of the name itself. But, as you've gone out of your neighborhood, what challenges have you faced and what challenges do you think folks at Braven might face?
Well, we're pretty honed in. Our model is to be very deep roots into Miami. So we don't send a lot of beer outside of our county at the moment. But I mean, I've been to y'all's neighborhood. I love Bushwick. I see a lot of similarities to my neighborhood. Beer's pretty good. I love your branding personally. I think it's pretty good. I think it's simple. I think it's not gonna get lost in all these colors that a lot of breweries are doing nowadays. So I think it's key. I loved everything. My only thing was your granddad would love this beer. I think that's cool. I just think if you're gonna go like Mike was saying, like after like the kind of like the hipster Bushwick kind of thing, I don't know if that's gonna hit the young hip dudes or gals.
Well, they might have some fond memories of drinking beer with their granddad, right? Guys, that's all the time. Thank you. Nice job. Hey there, if you're enjoying our coverage of the craft beer business, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel or watching some more of our great content already uploaded.